Welcome to another edition of the Willie Bragg Show. I'm your host, Willie Bragg, and I would like to wish each and every one of you a wonderful, happy International Labor Day, more commonly known as May Day. And it's a very important holiday, more relevant than ever since we're living in the second Gilded Age. And this is not going to be a very long video or a long-winded video, as I am known to be kind of long-winded at times. Surprised I don't have a PhD as a professor somewhere. I'm like, today class in the theory, I'm surprised I'm not like that. So, oh well. But it's very important to observe International Labor Day. I observe it Labor Day twice a year. International Labor Day today, and May, and the first Monday of September, Labor Day. As you all know, that Labor Day that we celebrate here in the United States and in Canada were a compromise because they didn't want to go too radical by having the more radicalized, workers of the world unite kind of motif to it. The AFL they kind of toned it down with a more domestic, Labor Day. It's a disguised May Day, honestly. So, and a lot of what's best in our American traditions today is, in fact, socialists. Whether we're talking about the 8-hour workday for those that still can enjoy the 8-hour workday, Social Security, workmen's compensation, that sort of thing, 40-hour work week, some of these basics that we kind of take for granted overall, that that if we're not careful, it could disappear. In some cases, it's showing signs that it could disappear, and we need to go and make damn sure it doesn't happen. I will argue, like when the liberals will say, "Oh my God, if Trump gets in there, we're going to have Project 25 in our hands." Hey, I'm more opposed to Project 25 than they are. But here's the thing: they could be very well correct. Project 25 could very well take place under a Donald Trump presidency. But dare I say that we've been under Project 25 since the days of Ronald Reagan. We're living under Project 25 right now. Project 25 basically is the vision of Mitch McConnell, if he was the president of the United States, with a congressional majority of Republicans in the House and the Senate, with a right-wing Supreme Court that's compliant. And that would be Project 25. We kind of live under that now. The Democrats go along with it. The Democrats, they're the other conservative party. And as a socialist, I argued that we need a replacement party for the Democrats. Now, if you're fighting the good fight inside the Democratic Party, there are people who are fighting the good fight inside the Democratic Party, such as Jim Perlman down in Florida, trying to depose Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who does not need to be in Congress. And good for her. That's Jim Perlman, not Debbie Wasserman Schultz. But you know what? You have the campaign of Cornel West, as imperfect as it is, thanks to Peter Dow, who sabotaged it, in my view. If he would have played his cards right, this could have been something that could have been very uniting since the days of Ralph Nader in 2000 and 1996, and the days of Bernie Sanders in 2016 and 2020, but kind of combined, could have created a robust movement, an anti-capitalist movement in this country. We're in need of it. It's right there before your very eyes. I mean, you have a crumbling infrastructure, a healthcare system based on profit that does nothing for any of us except take out of our wallets. At the very best case scenario, we get bankrupt. Worst case scenario, we die because we can't afford it. We got, jobs leaves this country for cheaper labor elsewhere, which we need to fix that. And when we fix what's wrong with our domestic jobs to keep our wages high, We need to also make sure in other countries that their wages remain high as well. This is not just a national thing, but this is global. This is global, and you do this kind of locally, but you think of it in terms of internationally as well. Um, and we all have my audience here. We all have different, schools of leftism, and I respect every school of leftism that I mean that supports my channel here. Mine is still basically the Frankfurt Declarations of Socialist International. It's been somewhat modified and watered down somewhat since 1951, but that's still basically what I go by. But we don't have an American presence here anymore. It used to exist here through the old Socialist Party of America, which ceased being in 1972. It became a couple of splinter groups, DSA being the largest, and they're no longer in the SI, and they've been kind of disappointing lately. So there is that as well. But we need to go and work on an anti-capitalist third party. Now, when I say anti-capitalist, I don't mean that everything is nationalized right down to your toothbrush. I mean, this is what the right wing wants you to think. But it does mean that we need a commitment, a public commitment to make sure that every man and woman and child in this country are covered medically, covered with have access to a living wage job without question. That wouldn't even be an issue. All you have to do is just go to a government office, and you will find a job either in the private or in the public sector. Actually, we have the laws on the books. It's called the Full Employment Act, or the Humphrey Hawkins Act of, I believe it's a Humphrey Hawkins Act of 1978. I think is the year, even though Hubert Humphrey died, I think in 1977. I think that's when he died, but it was called the Humphrey Hawkins Act, which basically says that you're guaranteed a job, a living wage job. If you cannot find it in the private sector, the government will find it for you, and you will be paid a living wage. Such a law exists on the books. It's there. It's not enforced, and that job needs to be in that law. If there's a law that needs to be enforced, that's one law that needs to be enforced. So there is that. And and the thing about it is that I get a little disappointed with Bernie sometimes, and I've been critical of Bernie Sanders. Have gone as off the deep end as some others, maybe, because I've been kind of Bernie bro since the early 1990s. My friend Snipe Hunter here online will tell you, he can attest that for you. I was a Bernie bro back in the 1990s before it became cool to be one. So down here in North Carolina, no less. So they didn't know who the fuck Bernie Sanders was. I was like, and they told me, and like, we didn't even know who Bernie Sanders was until you. You're the reason why we knew who Bernie Sanders was before everybody else knew who Bernie Sanders was. So, there's that. But we got a lot of things going on around the world, not just here in the United States. There's there's an election going on in the UK pretty soon, and when Rishi Sunak may be gone, not holding too much hopes for Keir Starmer, and I'm still angry for what they did to Jeremy Corbyn, Britain's better Bernie, as I like to call them. So I tell people in Britain, if you're going to vote in the next election, if your Labour MP is a Democratic Socialist and is a definitely somebody that has receipts and do fight for workers, vote for that MP in the UK. But if your MP is a jellyfish like Tony Blair in that school of politics, reject that candidate and vote trade union, socialist coalition, Green Party, you name it. Vote anything other than a turncoat inside the Labour Party. That's a given right there. So it's not just in the first world. There are things we have to be in solidarity with our brothers and sisters in Palestine, in Gaza, because what's going on there is a crime against humanity, and And socialism not just means workers' emancipation; it means justice for all people, and that means that means that people that means that we need to also fight for peace and a peaceful resolve to that conflict over there, and that Prime Minister Netanyahu needs to be brought to justice and at the International Criminal Court. Um, and even in Israel, you don't include the Gaza war, citizens in that country, not even connected with that issue, been facing austerity measures on and off since 1977. And they need to make damn sure in the next election that Likud and their right-wing partners are voted out completely, totally. So, and I would urge anybody who lives there to vote for Meretz, a pro-Palestinian socialist party. Yeah, I know they're Zionists, but they're pro-Palestinian as well. Around the world, we have a lot of things going on. We have the ecology of this planet on the balance. And people say we don't have climate change. We have climate change. I live in North Carolina, and we used to have normal winters. Those winters are not so normal anymore. We have mighty warm winters. I haven't seen haven't seen much snow since I've seen one snowstorm here. One snow, not a snowstorm. I've seen some flurries once since 2018 in the Raleigh area, and that was last year briefly. On a Sunday morning. That was it. In the afternoon, it stopped. So, I mean, you tell me we don't have global warming. We got global warming. Compared in contrast to that, when I was growing up in the 1970s, where I grew up in northeastern North Carolina, and just 20 minutes from the Virginia border, of an hour south of Suffolk, Virginia. And what do we have down over there? Well, we had usually 1 or 2 big snowstorms each year, and maybe 2 or 3 little dusty flakes of snow. Where sometimes about 2 or 3 times a year we'd get shut down for about a week. That was a typical winter in North Carolina, especially in the part of North Carolina I grew up in. And that's been the last time that was a normal thing was my senior year in high school in 1988. While I was in college, not one drop of snow. Not one drop of snow. So, here's the thing. All this takes is working together to make this happen. And I bring all these issues together because it's all connected. It's always connected. Foreign policy, what's going on in Russia and Ukraine, also connected. What's going on in Taiwan, connected, China and all that, and we need to work together to work for a better world. And thank you for bringing that up about the college. Here today, here in the United States, we're seeing a clampdown of civil liberties like I have not seen it, well, in my lifetime. I mean, I thought since 9/11, I thought, goodness gracious, look what George W. Bush did in the 80s. I kind of knew what Reagan was doing back then, and it was just kind of like we're on the verge of another Kent State. I don't want to see it happen. Don't want to see it happen. Right now, and for what? For students exercising their free speech rights, calling out on an issue that's objectively true. They're not anti-Semitic. Many of them are Jewish. They're not even all leftists. Some of them are libertarian. Some of them are don't even have an ideology. They're not all a bunch of hipsters, barista, leftist, trendy college students. They're people come from all walks of life and they see an injustice and they're challenging it. And you got pundits out there cheerleading a police-like crackdown And they're sitting there saying, well, freedom of speech doesn't mean inside the riot, when it's the issues that they're opposed to. And these are the same people that had empathy for the Tiki Torch morons in Charlottesville in 2017, the right wing in this country, who I can promise you, their love of Israel does not mean they love Jews. I want to make that clear too. We need to make that clear and pound that to the point, because a lot of Christian Zionists do not. A lot of them are anti-Semitic. Let's face it. So, but in this May Day, I think that we need to look back and look at the gains that we have, and look at the challenges ahead, and move forward. I use the example, and I'm going to do a video either tomorrow or sometime this weekend. It's a week overdue on April 25th, but they just celebrated the 50th anniversary of the Carnation Revolution, the people of Portugal, which was a socialist revolution that peacefully toppled a fascist government on April 25th, 1974. That was when it was Martin Sortino. He was the successor to Antonio Salazar, and what happened there was basically 50 years of fascism. It was the second last fascist country in Western Europe, other one being Franco's Spain. And Franco saw the writing on the wall when it happened, so he did an executive order to transfer all powers to Juan Carlos when he died, and Juan Carlos is a year later, and Juan Carlos transformed Spain into a democracy, because they saw the writing on the wall, and they were fearful that a revolution in Spain might not be as peaceful as it was in Portugal. So, but I do use the Carnation Revolution as kind of an example, and it's not really talked about, but it should be. It should be. And basically, what happened? It was when a squadron of army captains called the Armed Forces Movement orchestrated a peaceful coup. And I'll go into details about that when I do my video very soon. So I just want to go and make this, as I said, it's not going to be very long, as it's kind of off the cuff. I want to do something here for May Day. And because I haven't been doing a lot of videos lately, and it would be sacrilege for me not to say something here on this day. It's bad enough that I miss April 25th, which is equally as important as talking today, yet I missed it, but I will make up for it. So, okay. So what do we have here on the chat line? We have Miguel. How are you doing, my friend? College buddy, how are you doing today? Snipe Hunter, bonjour. We have Desert Mantis. All right, how are you today? Everybody's greeting everybody all over the place here. I see. Yes, and Workers Unite more than ever. Yeah, well, I found out that a brick background makes me look better. I did a video yesterday, and the lighting that I'm using right now, I still think I need to use a green screen, and I don't right now, but I'm been thinking I am actually going to break down and get a green screen as soon as my lazy ass gets motivated to do so. So, how are you doing, Ed? I'm doing good. Retro Gamer, how are you doing today? Yep, it is International Workers' Day. It is very much indeed. So, let's see what do we have here. Let's see. All right. And we have Sherry Weiss. Dr. Weiss, how are you doing today? Let's see here. Good seeing you. All right. I'm looking through here and checking out everybody. Okay, Dr. Nick. How you doing today? Oh, come on now. I'm no Jimmy Dore. But thank you. Let's see here. We have all right. We have here checking. Okay. All right. And I guess that's okay. Hold on a second. May Day because the martyrs in Chicago were hanged on this day. That is true as a result of the Haymarket riots. You're right about that. And they were set up. And if you think about the cracking down on these students, this is a rinse and repeat of what's happened before. I mean, you look at what happened in the execution of Sacco and Vanzetti, 1927. Um, Evidence strongly show that they were framed. They were framed for the bombings that took place. And just throughout times they would go after the left. And people say, "Oh, but Trump." Yeah, Trump. I will fear what Trump could do, but I also think he's such an incompetent, silly person that he might not be as good of an administrator as, let's say, someone like a Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis is. We need to thank our stars that Ron DeSantis is likely not to be president. So, but anyway, basically, it's happening under Biden. I mean, this is, we call it Kent State, or May 1968 in Paris. Just what have you. I mean, it's just what's going on here. Is the difference between 1970 Kent State, or Paris 1968, is that at least in those two instances, in the United States in particular, was a better economy than what we have today. Just it was a better economy. We just we don't even have that here anymore. So, but anyway, I will not trying to get all grim and all that. We're just going to go and reflect, and we know that we're on the right side of history, which means the left, and we're going to go and try to continue fighting the good fight. And I will talk to you all later. If you like what you heard, please press like and comment any way you disagree with what I have to say. Feel free to share the content on this channel. As a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it, because we are, in fact, the muckrakers of our time. Also, for all those who have subscribed to my channel, thank you for doing so all these years. I appreciate your support, and and we're gonna get there. Trying to get to 1,000, and hopefully sooner than by the end of the year we'll get there. But I'm gonna go realistic and say, let's try to get there by the end of the year. So if you don't mind, help spread the word about this channel. I urge people to support it, and help independent media grow, because we all got to help each other out in that regard. So and that's why I tell people to reject corporate media. So until next time, free Palestine, free Julian Assange, free healthcare for all, and of course, free speech. It's all connected, folks. It really is. So y'all take care. Bye-bye.